Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and I am back again with my series of talking about how every Halo game holds up so many years later. And today I am talking about the 2004 sequel, Halo 2. And for this video, I'm going to be mainly talking about Halo 2 Anniversary, which is a part of the Master Chief Collection, which came out all the way back in 2014. And yeah, like how I did my How Did Combat Evolved Hold Up video, I'm only going to be talking about the campaign, not the multiplayer. But anyways, let's get into the video. Oh, also, I will be kind of spoiling the game, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, stop watching. Halo 2 takes place pretty much directly after Halo CE, and with some cool cutscenes to show how much of a celebrity Master Chief and Johnson are. And yeah, Bungie decided to fully upgrade Johnson to an actual character in this game instead of just like a sergeant who would appear in some of the missions and the occasional cutscene. I gotta say, I'm glad they promoted him. And instead of just showing the human side of the story, Bungie decided to also show off the Covenant. I love this addition to the game. I think it adds so much to the game since we can learn about the Covenant from an inside point of view. In Halo 2, for about like half the missions, you play as the Arbiter, and he's basically the guy who was in charge of the Covenant force that was with you on Installation 04 in Combat Evolved, the same Halo ring that we blew up at the end. And while it turns out that Halo ring was very important to the Covenant, so the Arbiter is stripped of his rank and seen as a heretic, and his life is basically ruined. Until the Prophets, basically the religious and actual leaders of the Covenant, go on to make him the Arbiter. Basically the Prophet's sword, and the Arbiter will have to do anything that the Prophets actually want him to do. And then we actually get to play as him to go fight heretics on our forward station that orbits the planet from the last game. And then we learn that the Prophets are basically replacing the elites with brutes who were introduced in this game, and we get to fight in the Covenant Civil War, and man, that is so cool. And then the Master Chief basically does the same stuff he did in the last game. I know I'm kind of making it sound bad, even though it's really not, but when half the game is going in such different and interesting direction, it can be weird to have the other half of the game basically take you through the same motions without any real divergence. Though luckily, I think Bungie did the best thing they could for this. After having you get to play as the Arbiter, the game will like kind of switch back between the two, so when playing through the game, each level can kind of act as a palate cleanser for the last, so one level being like all that other religious group falling apart, and then the next level is just trying to kill some aliens like you did in the last game. But I didn't really want to start this video on a negative note, because I think this game is really good. I may go as far as to say that this is my favorite Halo campaign in the series so far. Well, I guess I should talk about the gameplay, huh? Much like the last game, the gameplay feels really good to control, and this time I actually want to use the vehicles the game gives me. And since this is a sequel, we now have some more things we can do, such as dual wielding, which is so important to the gameplay that they decided to have Master Chief showcase it on the front cover art. And it's a pretty cool feature. With some of the smaller weapons like needlers and the pistols, you can hold two of them and shoot with both triggers to give you like a faster fire rate. Oh, and you can't melee or throw grenades without dropping one of the weapons. And I honestly don't use this too often. Something I do often is the vehicle boarding, which allows you to jump onto an enemy-controlled vehicle and either throw a grenade in it or punch them out. And I gotta say that feature feels so much more at home than dual wielding does in this game. But yeah, like I said, this game feels so great to play, and there are so many times you can sequence break. Like in the second level, you can grenade jump up to this building and start walking through the city, basically skipping all the enemies. And yeah, this game just doesn't take place on the Halo ring and a few ships like the last game. You start on a human space station above Earth, go into one of the Earth cities in Africa, then go to the Forerunner structure that was near the Halo ring from the last game, then go on a brand new Halo ring called Delta Halo, which, just like the last game's Halo ring, has so many different areas that are visually different from each other. And finally, you even go into the Covenant's home base, Dreadnought thing. High Charity. Yep, so if you don't like one of the locations that much, you can basically wait a mission and it'll probably change. And I'm glad Delta Halo doesn't look like an exact copy of Alpha Halo from Combat Evolved. It really lets the game create its own identity from the precursor. Though talking about the levels, there are a few times where it feels like the levels were split in half. Like you'll be going through a level and then it'll just end, then the next level will start with a cutscene, and it's like, oh, this could have been just one long level, and I'm assuming Bungie just was like, oh, these levels are too long, let's cut them in half. It doesn't really matter, but I guess it accounts for Halo 2 having like almost the most levels in the game, other than like Halo 5. It's just a small nitpick for someone who had to let's play through the games, but yeah. Halo 2 also added a lot more weapons, and since you can now play as the elites without any humans around, there are a lot more weapons for the Covenant to fill in the roles that were filled by only human weapons. And they even let us use weapons that were previously unusable in Halo Combat Evolved, like the Fuel Rod Cannon and the now iconic Energy Sword. And I'm really glad that when you first play as the Arbiter, you get to use this weapon as soon as possible. It's like Bungie knew everyone wanted to use this the first time they saw their Marines die by the Energy Sword. But sadly, adding in all these like Covenant weapons does make each weapon and the same type feel a little less unique. but I feel like it gave the developers more freedom to play certain weapons and levels, and give players the choice of choosing which weapon they like to go with, for instance like the sword or shotgun. Weapons that are very similar but have their ups and downs, though there were also some weird exclusions. For example, the assault rifle is basically replaced by the SMG, and it's weird to think that in a different timeline the assault rifle is never brought back after this, but luckily after this game it'll always be in all the games. They did change up some of the weapons work, like the pistol, and this game is vastly different than how it was in CE. This game also really expands on a lot of things that were in CE. You see a lot more of the Covenant, like the religious city, we see more of 343 Guilty Spark in another monitor, and we see the Gravemind for the first time, which is what Captain Keyes would have become if we didn't kill him in CE. Oh yeah, we also get a lot more information on like the UNSC as a whole. Come at the bottom, we also saw like the crew of the Pillar of Autumn, but now we see characters such as Lord Hood, even Captain Keyes' daughter, Miranda Keyes. And Miranda Keyes is pretty cool in this game, and doesn't have a level where she can die over and over again, like her father. And this is the first game that we now see the Master Chief's like now iconic armor. And it's kind of weird to me that they changed it after just one game, but I gotta say, I'm really glad they made this change, because I love the armor in this game. And do you remember how I said how I like the Combat Evolved cutscenes? Well, I think the cutscenes in this game are amazing. And yes, the cutscenes you've been seeing throughout the video are the Anniversary Edition produced by Blur, but it's not like they're massively changing what the characters are doing. But I gotta say, I just absolutely love the Blur cutscenes, and I kinda wish they would redo all of the previous games cutscenes in this style, but whatever. And the voice actors are amazing in this game. There are returning actors such as Steve Downes as Master Chief and Jen Taylor as Cortana, but there are also some new actors in this game, such as Keith David as the Arbiter, and man, I just gotta say, I love the acting in this game. All the voices just fit their characters so well. Also in this game, like I said before, the cutscenes in this game are just amazing and very cinematic. I mean, look at some of these shots. And on top of that, I think the game has some of the most quotable lines out of all the Halo games.
Sir, permission to leave the station.
For what purpose, Master Chief?
To give the Covenant back their bomb.
For a brick, he flew pretty good.
Is that?
I am a monument to all your sins.
Tartarus, stop.
Impossible.
Put down the icon.
Put it down and disobey the Hierarchs?
There are things about Halo even the Hierarchs do not understand.
Take care, Arbiter. What you say is heresy.
Is it? Oracle, what is Halo's purpose?
Collective roll the 7.
Not another word.
Please, don't shake the light bulb.
Soon the great journey shall begin. But when it does, the weight of your heresy will stay your feet, and you shall be left behind.
Thanks for the tank. He never gets me anything.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Oh, also there were a few times when like the NPC allies will say stuff like the elites. I didn't realize this on like a first playthrough, but playing it again throughout the last year, it's like, oh, the elites will notice when like their allies will die. It's just like, oh, I love this. That we don't really see in other Halo games. And the only downside of the cutscenes are that there are a lot of times when I wish I could have played like that as a part of the game, but it's just a cutscene. Good thing I'm able to punch this alien. Yep, I always think of Halo 2 as the boss fight game, and I remember liking a lot of the boss fights. But coming back to this game, a lot of them are honestly kind of underwhelming. Either just killing regular enemies to start the next cutscene, punching an alien for him just to teleport and you have to run to him to punch him again, and finally waiting for Johnson to shoot Tartarus' shields down just so you can kill him. And yeah, Halo 2 once again gives us the series first to actual named villains. We aren't just fighting kind of like a faceless alien main force. You're the three prophets, but mostly the prophet of truth, the Gravemind, and Tartarus. I think giving us actual characters that we can go against and hate while we fight was a great thing. And now that I'm talking about one of the main brutes, I should probably talk about the new species that were introduced in this game. The brutes and the drones. The brutes are basically what their human given name sounds like. They're brutes. They're big Wookiee-like creatures that when you kill a lot of their squad or hurt them, they will rage. Similar to how the hunters will. And the drones are just super annoying. But I don't really mean that in a bad way. They'll come at you from all angles and make you have to quickly change your strategy since they can fly around and are overall hard to hit. I think they fit well in the game. But the brutes don't really shine until the elites are gone, and basically fill in the role that the elites had, but whatever. Okay, now what haven't I talked about? The music. The music is once again great in this game, and the anniversary music is also great. In this game they decided to have a guitar be like the main instrument, and I love it, and I wish more Halo games would feature the electric guitar more prominently. And I kind of really like Halo 2's music because it's very different. Like of course there's like the Mjolnir mix, where yes, it's like the main theme of Halo, but there's also a lot of tracks that you don't hear often, and I feel like it gives Halo 2 its own identity, while not being like Halo 4 and Halo 5 where it's too different. The only negative thing I gotta say about the music is that in the Master Chief Collection, when you switch to the original graphics, the music is super low, and I would like to hear it, like some of the differences, or like Breaking Benjamin. Like, come on 343, raise that music up. But yeah, the music is great in this game, which I think I'll be saying for all the Halo games. And yeah, you can probably tell from the cliffhanger ending, but this game originally wasn't finished, and it's honestly a surprise that it's as good as it is because of how rushed it was. And I'm kind of surprised at how you honestly can't tell rushed it is by today's standards. I mean, there are a few things like the ending, which man, am I glad I wasn't playing this game in 2004. I had to wait 3 years to find out what happened to Chief. But I'm still just wondering how Johnson got this scarab. Like, did I miss a cutscene? In one he's with Tartarus, and the next one he's got this giant weapon. It doesn't matter then, but I'm still confused about it. And yeah, if you're curious about Halo 2's development, we're still finding things out that were cut from the game by like modders and stuff. So I just gotta say, good on them, because learning about game's history is super interesting, and seeing the game that we could have got is even more interesting. But yeah, I really like this game, and I honestly recommend it to anyone who liked Home and Evolved and wants to play it. It's just more cinematic and really builds on what the previous game set up, and you should play the Master Chief Collection since you also get the other games in that package too, and they actually recently released some fixes to Halo 2 to make it look closer to the original, so I think that's great. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day, and goodbye.